Hey everybody, it's John. We had a snowstorm when we were supposed to record, so usually Deuce comes into this studio, and we tried to go back to our roots, and we had Deuce blow the dust off of his studio, and we had a lot of issues trying to get things set back up again, and everything sounded good, but what I think happened was Deuce... We didn't check, this is my fault, we didn't check to see if Audacity was recording from his ATR 2100 microphone. So it sounds like he is using his computer microphone. So the sound quality is a little off on this episode. My apologies, but hopefully if we don't get any more snow, next week we'll get back to our normal, regular studio goodness. So we wanted to get an episode out for you. Here it is. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to another episode of the Brand X Podcast. I am one of your hosts, John. Alongside me, Deuce.
Come stop, bitches.
And we're going old school. We're going back to the days of the beginning of the Brand X Podcast because of freaking Winter Storm Toby. We're in the middle of a 6 to 8 inch snowstorm.
Yeah, we needed this.
So Deuce is at Studio B at his house.
On the first day of spring, no less.
Right. And I am in the Brand X Bunker Studio as normal. And the Jimmy isn't here with us today because he's out doing battle with the snow. He does snow plowing, so he's out fighting the elements. But I tell you what, I hate snow. The older I get, the more I hate snow. Like I went out today in this, and I cleaned off my car and everything and got out because, God forbid, I make a pot of coffee. So I went out in this. And
that's where you should keep your cell phone, too.
That's true. Although I didn't
less trouble on social media.
Yeah, I only had one little dust up this week. Nothing real major. It wasn't. I keep saying it wasn't my fault, but I guess it is my fault. It was my fault. But so
it's like an alcoholic. I didn't mean to get drunk. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah,
I ran into
I'm in denial. So so we're fighting the elements, but we wanted to get a show out, and Deuce was kind enough to blow off the dust of Studio B.
Oh, man, it's like an archaeological dig.
And then we had to go and set everything back up again, and you do not have your soundboard, and I know that's going to be killing you, but it's just for one episode. One episode, you're not going to have your soundboard, and we'll get this out. And again, I'm not sure how long this is going to go because of the same. It's so funny. I'm looking at my timer, and it says 9 minutes, but I'm think like 7 minutes of that is us fucking around with shit.
Yeah. Well, also it's not going to last long because I got to go out and clear the driveway because I have to work tomorrow. So
then we might as well get to it. Last episode that we put out, episode 84, when I got done, I found out that Stephen Hawking had died, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it!" All the times we've talked about Stephen, we had him on the show, and then he left us.
Like Mr. Bojangles' dog.
Yes, he did.
He up and died.
And then Wonder Woman, the new Wonder Woman, how do you say her name again?
I've heard it both ways. I think it's Gal Gadot, but I've heard people say Gal Gadot trying to make her French, but I believe it's Gal Gadot.
Well, I know she's Israeli, right? Isn't she from Israel?
She was an Israeli supermodel.
Okay, there you go. So she tweeted out, very innocently, "Rest in peace, Dr. Hawking. Now you're free of any physical constraints. Your brilliance and wisdom will be cherished forever." And boy, did they jump all over that. Now you would think something as harmless as that. What could you say about that, right?
Yeah, it was a nice overture.
The guy says, "I think you're fantastic, gal, but this tweet is very ableist. His physical constraints didn't stop him from changing the world. People with disabilities don't wish for death to be free of their challenges. We wish to be valued for what we can do, but not pitied for what we can't." I was like, really? Ableist? Now there's an ableist? Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
So
they got a term for everything.
Yeah. It's like you can't say a word without offending somebody. then these two other guys, they jump on there and they start fighting back and forth about each other. And, this is a gal, I'm chronically ill, can't shower, even get myself out of bed, lost 18 years thus far. I ran a charity for funding research for my illness, #me, and an advocate for change, all from my bed. Is my life not important? Disablement is not shameful. Bigotry is. Now, do you think that was a bigoted thing to do? So this is what I'm talking about. You can't say anything without somebody jumping on. So if I was her, I would have just said, I would have just jumped on here and said, you know what? Fuck all you cripples. All right? I didn't mean it that way. But if you want to get all dancy with me, what are you going to do? I'm Wonder Woman.
Well, she's the global ambassador.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, they got mad about that. I forget there was another Wonder Woman. But Linda Carter was involved. She was Wonder Woman in the 1970s. Mm-hmm. And about 3 years ago, I guess, when they announced they were going to make a Wonder Woman movie, and they may have just announced that Gal Gadot was going to be Wonder Woman, they had a initiative at the United Nations, and it was like a woman empowerment thing, and it was like a Wonder Woman Day or something, and it was all hunky dory. And then somebody got pissed off about it, and they started like raising a shitstorm, and then the UN backed off on it or something because they all got like angry or something. It was a really weird thing. You go on. I'm going to see if I can pull it up because it happened about 3 years ago.
Yeah. So like I said, you can't say a word now without everybody's waiting to be offended. All right. No, you know what? It's wonderful that it's not wonderful you're chronically ill, but it's wonderful that you don't use your illness as a reason to just lay there and do nothing except watch, daytime TV, and you're raising money for research and all that. That's great. No one said you should be shameful, and it's not bigotry to say to somebody you're free of your physical constraints. When we die, when you die, when I die, when able-bodied people die, we are also free of our physical constraints. It doesn't have anything to do with disabilities. Just because you heard that and decided to get all twisted about it, now all of a sudden there is 8,074 retweets and 53,776 likes on this stupid tweet.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. And now Twitter, they're changing because of this whole Russian bot thing and everything that was going on with these Russians that came in and just put up posts, and people clicked on to them like, hey, how much of an asshole, what % of an asshole are you? And then you click on to see what % of that asshole you are, and it comes up. Well, at that time, it collects information from you, and it's legal. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So they did that, and then they used that information like a marketer would and marketed things towards you. And they, for some reason, they think that swung the election. Yeah. And I'm just saying that the reason, for some crazy reason, they think that because Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton, there had to be some kind of fix-in. And the problem is that she's just an unlikable woman. Mm-hmm.
I found that story, going back to the Wonder Woman thing. It says, UN drops Wonder Woman as honorary ambassador. This happened in, the date on this is 2016.
Now, they dropped Linda Carter, or they dropped the Gal Gadot?
What they did, here's the story. Wonder Woman has been stripped of her role as the United Nations honorary ambassador for the empowerment of women and girls less than 2 months after the controversial appointment was made. And what they did basically was they made a little cartoon, and there's a picture of it here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 7 different types of women, one of who is in a wheelchair, and they're all dressed up as Wonder Woman.
Okay.
And it was basically that you were supposed to be, it was an outreach that all women are Wonder Women, and this is a positive role model thing. And in this picture, there's fat Wonder Woman, there's really skinny, geeky Wonder Woman, there's a black Wonder Woman.
Every woman is a Wonder Woman.
Yeah, every woman represents, exactly. So, but apparently somebody...
Is there like a whore Wonder Woman there, kind of dressed scantily?
No, they're all pretty Wonder Woman.
Slut Wonder Woman, maybe?
It's like I said, it's a cartoon.
I got you.
But they just basically, somebody got angry about this.
How?
Let me see. Decision sparked protests. Concerned United Nations staff members created a petition asking UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to reconsider the choice of the comic book character first created by DC. The staffer said the comic book character is not culturally encompassing or sensitive and was an inappropriate choice at a time when the headline news in the United States and world is the objectification of women and girls.
Oh, they didn't like the outfit.
I guess. But prior to this, I mean, it was like a big, when they made the announcement like 2 months prior, like Linda Carter was there and it was like photos and, you know, it looked like it was like pretty well received, but you just get some stick in the mud wet blanket that isn't happy about anything and
Here you
everything
go, ladies.
comes crashing down.
You want to stop being objectified for your beauty and your looks and everything? Cover up. Put on a big, put on a muumuu and
A burqa.
a burqa if you want to, and whatever you want to, cover up, and then everybody will look at you for your brains and your whatever. Okay, you want to do that? That's fine. Go and do it. But it's not us. You're doing it to yourselves. You're objectifying yourselves. You're the one. You spend more money on things that make you false eyelashes, hair. What are those things? The hair extensions, and all this stuff, makeup and crazy stuff that you put yourselves through, and hair removal and all this stuff, and you do that. And who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for us? Because I got to be honest with you. If you all went back to natural within 3 or 4 months, we'd be banging you all natural. Wouldn't matter. We'd think you were just as pretty or just as attractive or whatever. But for some reason, nobody's supposed to look at somebody and say, "Oh, they're attractive" or whatever. Everybody, you know what? We're all supposed to be space aliens. We're supposed to have big giant eyes and bald hair and in silver suits, and everybody's the same. And you couldn't tell one from the other. We all walk around looking the same, so you can't really tell anybody from one from the other. That's what they want.
And I think what she said wasn't really out of line. It's just somebody isn't happy unless they're offended.
Exactly.
Because if anybody had made this statement in the newspaper at the time, because there was no Twitter, 15, 20 years ago, I was, that was a pretty nice sentiment.
That's it.
But now everyone's got a voice because everyone's got a cell phone, so everyone's got Twitter.
So I'm wondering.
Except for me, who I'm just a lurker.
Right. So I'm wondering what would happen if you got a chance to talk to Stephen Hawking now and see what he would actually say about all this nonsense.
What?
Hello? Hello? This is Stephen Hawking, coming to you from heaven. What's going on?
So, he's a believer now.
Well, guess what, guys? I have to tell you, I was wrong. Just about this. And you know something? Heaven's wonderful. Last week, I had a 3-way with Princess Di and Jackie O. And let me tell you something. That was mind-blowing. You know why they call her Jackie O? Well, I'll tell you. We were together, and then all of a sudden she started putting lube on her finger, and I said, "Hey, Jackie, what do you do with that lube?" Oh, Jackie.
So, in heaven, are you still in a wheelchair?
No, that's the best thing. I'm not shitting myself and pissing myself in this wheelchair anymore. I don't have to have anybody wash me. I get to hang out. You know what I did the other day? The Macarena. I was never able to do the Macarena. That was pretty cool. Next week, they're going to teach me the electric slide. So it's pretty cool up here. Nobody's offended. Nobody gives two flying fucks about anything. We're just up here having a great time. I was drinking whiskey with Frank Sinatra.
Swearing is allowed in heaven, evidently.
Yeah, this is great. Thank God I'm in heaven. All that. Listen.
Well, that's who you would have to thank.
Right. I did a lot of that. I was like, well, I was wrong. I thought maybe it didn't make sense, but now that you're here, I'm a believer.
That's very magnanimous to concede that you were incorrect on one of your theories.
Right, but guess what? I can also zoom around in space and go to all the places that we thought about. And I can go and actually see what's happening. And I'd let you know, but fuck it. Let them figure it out themselves like I had to.
So where do you hang out at?
Well, we get up in the morning, we have a little nosh. Then, we go out and zoom around wherever we want to. We meet up at 4 o'clock for drinks. And you should see, you think this Star Wars bar was something freaky. You ought to come up here, because It's a who's who up here. And you know something? Phyllis Diller, not that bad looking. She uglied herself up here. She's a gorgeous looking piece of meat.
So in heaven there's beer goggles for everyone?
No, we all look, up here we're all 10s. It's amazing.
Everyone's a 10.
Everyone's a 10.
Wow, so if you were a 10, I guess you go to
You're
11.
pissed off, and that's even better. You know, like Bo, what's her name? I think she's still alive, though.
Yeah,
when she dies, she ain't gonna want to come here, because everybody's gonna look better, as good as her.
So what do you think about Gal Gadot's statement?
I think that everybody's making a big deal over nothing. She didn't say anything that's wrong. Everybody, when they leave their physical restraints. Now, if you have restraints, you leave them behind. We have our own up here.
For a Nobel Prize winning astronomer, I would have thought you had a stronger vocabulary, Dr. Hawking.
Really? You're going to do that to me here? You know, there's only some... I kind of dumbed down up here a little bit, you know. Before I was sitting there shitting myself and pissing myself. And I had nothing else to do. Up here we're drinking, we're having a lot of fun.
Smoking, carrying on.
That's right. It's the greatest up here.
Who else you hanging around with besides Phyllis Diller?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not hanging around with all those stick-in-the-mud scientists like Einstein and Madam...
Really?
What's her name? Madam... The one that invented the X-ray.
No, you mean Madame Curie?
That's her, yeah. Although she's a 10, too. Yeah. But we kind of do our thing.
Does she glow?
No.
From hanging around all that radiation?
No, radiation up here is no big deal. Doesn't even affect us.
Just another day in the park.
Just another day in the park.
Interesting.
Yep, I say, you people down there, you don't know how good you have it. All right? Stop being so offended by everything. Enjoy life. Because, when you come up here, it's better than you could ever imagine. You know what? Be pissed off. Just, be miserable down there. It doesn't matter. Because when you get up here, if you get up here, you'll like it. All right, listen. I'd like to hang out with you guys, but I gotta go.
Oh, it was certainly our honor to have you come in here and speak. Of course, it's an honor.
Of course it is. I might check in from time to time. You know something? Out of all the podcasts, the Brand X podcast is my favorite. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Well, I'm glad you're not above a shameless plug, Dr. Hawking.
I know. That's what someone just gave that to me. All right. Take care, guys.
Well, have a good one.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah, who would have thought? Very ethereal. I feel like a warmth rush over me.
Yes. You know something? I seem to have the same vocabulary as Stephen Hawking.
Yeah. I was shocked.
I'm sure you were. I was like, how am I going to get out of this? For God's sake.
Really?
Really? This is what you're going to hit me with? I only screwed up a couple times. I mean, Stephen only screwed up a couple times. Got to get my money's worth out of this rolling voice transformer. So anyhow, that was Stephen Hawking. What a guy.
Gal Gadot.
Right.
In other unrelated news with Gal Gadot, they just said that the DC Justice League movie was the lowest grossing DC movie ever.
Here's the thing.
Nobody liked it. It was really panned.
I wonder how can you make a bad, I guess maybe the effects weren't good or...
Well, DC just doesn't have the touch like Marvel has. I mean, I'm a big Marvel guy. I mean, you know that.
Right.
But, I would like to see, how can you fuck up the Green Lantern?
Make them blue? I don't know.
No, the Green Lantern was like one of the coolest superheroes ever in the Green Lantern movie.
How do you fuck up Wonder Woman?
Oh, the Wonder Woman movie was great.
See, you know something? I'm sitting here looking at a picture of Gal.
Mm-hmm.
She's okay.
Well, she's no Linda Carter.
No, she's not.
Yeah, that's Wonder Woman.
That is Wonder Woman.
Even at 70, or however old she is. Yeah,
right.
I think she's pushing 70 now, Linda Carter.
Mm-hmm.
She's still Wonder Woman.
But you know what it is? I think it might be her accent. She has an accent.
Well, that doesn't... I can get by the accent because she's supposed to be, with the whole Wonder Woman mythos, like... Zeus was her father, so it could be like a Greece kind of a thing going on.
I guess.
I think she's just a little gangly.
Yeah.
But that's the modern taste now, is gangly, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they put her in the Wonder Woman skirt. They didn't put her in the hot pants like Linda Carter. Linda Carter could, like...
See, I'm not a big superhero fan. I mean, I've seen Iron Man, and I saw the first Avengers, but I really haven't seen anything since then. I mean, I think the last Batman movie I watched, what's his name? Jack Nicholson was the Joker.
Wow, you didn't see the ones with Christopher...
No.
Christian Bale, rather?
No, none of them. No.
Well, the first two were great. The last one was very disappointing.
And then there was this one, the one movie, Guardians of the Galaxy, where they have that raccoon in there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I can't get through it. I fall asleep every time I put it on. It's the craziest thing. Everybody raves about it. I can't get through it.
Yeah. I was surprised that they made that became the hit that it was, because as far as comic books go, you had to be like really steeped in lore, comic book lore, because it was one of the more obscure comic books out there. So even I was like, wow, really? They're making a movie about them?
Did you see the movie Black Panther yet?
Not yet. I was planning on going today, but the fucking blizzard today ruined that plan. So
right. Well, I tell you what, I bet you there was hardly anybody in the theater.
It didn't really. The snow didn't really start sticking until about 2:33, at least around here, anyway.
I know. Well, okay. So here's the thing. I was going to go watch the Black Panther movie because I just want to see if it's all that in a bag of donuts. So I just wanted to check it out. And I'm afraid that if I get in there and I don't like it, that I can't tell anybody about it.
Why not?
Because it'll be racist. Oh, you don't like it because he's a black superhero. I'm like, does it have to be?
That's made so much money. I mean, I think it's about the Thai Avatar, which I'm glad, because James Cameron is a little heavy-handed with the messages.
Okay.
I never even went and saw Avatar for that reason. But
I don't think I realize that I don't see a lot of movies. I do start watching a lot of TV. The one TV show that Jason and Mindy, through Twitter, there was some kind of Twitter thing going on where they said, hey, we nominate the Brand X podcast, and we also, here's the show. It's called Catastrophe, and it's on Amazon Prime. So it's a show on Amazon Prime. I have it Amazon Prime, and I started watching it. And it actually describes my dating life. Like, it's not that I got a girl pregnant and then had a baby with her, but it's just that it's the way that, they start this. If I could say anything about it, is that the guy is a little bit, he's quirky, he's funny. They get into these back and forth where they're kidding around, and then someone says something and the other one gets offended or the other one gets their feelings hurt, and then they lash back out and they have a fight. And it's kind of like every relationship I've ever been into or I've ever been in. And then, so to me, it's really funny, and it's based in England, and it has a whole.
Because you have so much in common with the English. No. But I'm just saying it's based over there, and they have a kind of a quirky sense about them. To be quite honest with you, they have a dry sense of humor.
Exactly. So,
like my dad, he could not stand Monty Python. I hear this from a lot of people. They hated Monty Python and the Flying Circus, but they loved Benny Hill.
Right. That's almost like this thing between Star Wars and Star Trek.
Like, yeah, it was like you can't like them both. You have to choose, or the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. You can't like them both.
Now, see, I'm the exception because I loved Monty Python and Benny Hill.
Yeah, I like them both. I just like to laugh.
Right.
If something's funny, it's funny.
Well, I got to ask you this, and we're probably going to be wrapping it up after this story. The story about the autonomous car.
Yeah, it's the self-driving car, Uber car.
Right. Did you read up on this at all? Did you look at it? It really interested me. Was it interested me?
I know about it because that's one of the raging debates at work, because some people, basically in a nutshell, people that don't like to drive are all for it. And people like myself that love to drive and find pleasure in it, really, I see no value in it myself. I don't like the idea of someone else being, or no one really being in control. And I've always said, if an accident happens and someone gets killed, who's going to get sued? The company that made it, or the guy, the poor, unsuspecting son of a bitch that just happened to be a passenger in the car, not controlling anything?
Well, guess what? We're going to find out.
It's about to happen. Yeah, it's really weird. I heard about it, but I didn't really read up on any of the details.
Self-driving Uber in Fatal Crash didn't have a vision problem. So basically what happened was in Arizona, Uber has these autonomous cars. And not only do they have autonomous cars, but they also have somebody in the car. In case something happens, the driver can take the wheel, kind of like Jesus take the wheel.
Right.
Well, the driver can take the wheel. If something happens, he has an override where he can just take control of the car. So anyhow, it's driving around, it's doing its thing, and then all of a sudden somebody had just stepped in front of the car and she got hit. And
so it was a pedestrian.
It was a pedestrian who walked off a medium strip with a bike and packages and stepped right into it. Mm-hmm. Now here's the rub, because I've been reading on this. The person that was in the car, the driver, said he didn't even see the woman until the impact.
Now, I'm sure not, because sometimes that happens so fast.
So I'm trying to think how many people get hit and killed by vehicles every day that are driving. And so far, this one vehicle ran over somebody, and all of a sudden they're just stopping the project from all over. They're just stopping. Oh, that's it. We had one problem. That's it. We can't have this happen anymore.
Well, probably because it was tested for that before they sent it out there and it failed. I would think that's what the reason is. Because, all these new cars, like the car that I just bought, it has adaptive cruise control. It has, all these cars have this stuff. It has collision alert. It has drunk driver assist.
Drunk driver assist? What's drunk driver assist?
Oh, it's great. They call it lane assist. But when you go over the lines, like the thing will beep.
Oh, my God. Oh, I thought it was actually a drunk driver.
Yeah, well, that's what I call it, drunk driver assist.
Oh, okay. So it actually helps you drive while you're intoxicated.
Yeah, you don't have to drive with one eye closed anymore.
That's fantastic.
Beep, beep, beep. Oh, it's like move over.
Okay.
So, yeah,
there you go.
But it's using, all these cars are using a series of radar signals and radio waves to gauge distance, speed, accident avoidance, all that stuff. So I would have to imagine that these Uber cars must have an even heightened system, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And because if you look at the picture, they got this big giant thing up there. That has to be a sensor array that's on the roof of these cars.
Yes.
I have to imagine. And something failed.
Okay. Well, Uber has declined to comment, but just on this show, we have as a guest, Autonomous Car.
Autonomous cars?
That's right. How you doing, Autonomous Car?
They truly are autonomous.
Hey, glad to be here.
Autonomous Car, are you related to Stephen Hawking?
Now, we only have one robot voice, so we just made it after Stephen Hawking. And I'm sure he's probably got a fat, lazy South Jersey tongue before you get into that, too. Mind your P's and Q's.
Pints and quarts.
So, Autonomous Car, I have a question for you. You had this accident. Could you tell me what happened? I mean, was there a problem? What happened there? If you could just tell me.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Bitch stepped right in front of me. I don't know too many people that would have actually got out of her way or not hit her. I mean, stupid is as stupid does. If you step in front of a car, it's going to hit you, whether it has a driver or not. I don't know why I'm catching all this shit. What about her? Oh, that's right, she's dead.
Now, isn't it true that you gunned it?
That is not true. I was just driving along. I had one of those humans in there in case he saw her. He could have stopped it, but he didn't even notice her until she hit the car and was laying in the back of behind the car. So I don't know what you want me to do. Listen, all we're trying to do is we have the same array of sensors and we can sense things, and I didn't even see her coming, and she stepped right in front of me. Now, when you humans are young, don't your parents teach you to look both ways before you cross the street? I mean, is it my responsibility to crash out of the way in case you want to step in front of a car? Isn't that really kind of cleansing the gene pool, wouldn't you think? You don't teach young people or people to look both ways before they cross the street?
Well, it's taught, but then what happens is everyone under the age of 30 discovered lawyers, and everyone's looking for a payout.
Well, what am I going to do here? I don't even make any money. They don't even pay me. So who are they going to sue?
Hey, you're pretty much screwed for trying.
Well, all I'm doing is my job. She steps right in front of me. I mean, I can't help that. The other day I missed 2 cats and a deer. Nobody says anything about that, but one bitch steps in front of you with a bicycle and a bag full of groceries, and the next thing you know, they pull the plug. I don't find it fair.
So you have no remorse, Mr. Autonomous Car.
What's remorse?
You don't feel bad for the woman you plowed over?
No. She stepped in front of me. She deserved it.
Yeah. She deserved it?
She did deserve it. It's a
It's a little
roadway.
strong.
Everything in the road is mine. Everything on the other side is hers. When she can cross the road when there's not a car. I'm telling you right now, there's not one person that wouldn't have hit that lady. She was asking for it.
Did you drag her about?
Now she went right over the top.
Wow.
Should have seen it. It was amazing.
Well, you didn't.
I did see it. I saw the whole thing.
Yeah, but you didn't see her when she stepped out.
Nobody did. It was almost like she tried. So, I say, let us have another chance. I hit one person, and now all of a sudden they're shut down. I wonder how many people were struck by and killed by cars. You don't see them making the news. Why? Because they can drive. I can drive. I even had a person in the car. He didn't see her either.
You're getting a vibe on who's going to be responsible for this?
Tell you one person's not going to be. It's not going to be an anonymous car.
How many autonomous cars are there?
A few.
As opposed to the anonymous car.
Well, now that I hit that lady, I'm going to be anonymous car. I don't want to be autonomous anymore.
You're going to lay low.
That's right. I'm going into the car protection witness program.
You're gonna lay low, like a cat that shit on the rug, huh?
Yes. I think that they should cut us a break, not give us such a bad rap. Let us try again. We hit one person. Listen, I'm sure we're going to knock off 5, 6, maybe up to 10 people a year.
Just collateral damage.
That's
huh?
all. You think that humans aren't going to knock off and kill that many people? So why, if we're 10% of what humans are killing, isn't that a step up, right? If 1,000 people in the United States are run over by a car driven by humans, and we killed 10, isn't that much better?
Death is still death.
Okay, but I don't see what's happening with the other 999 or 990.
You're not very good at math, are you, autonomous?
Listen, I can drive. I don't do podcast math.
Clearly, you cannot drive because...
I was fine. She stepped in front of me. I don't know one person. Mario Andretti would not have been able to get out of her way.
Oh, he'd have been driving faster.
That's right. I was doing the speed limit. She stepped right in front of me. I'd swear on a Bible. I'll put my right tire on a Bible and swear.
I wonder if she was texting and walking.
Well, I don't know. I didn't see.
You weren't watching.
No, I was not. But what if she was texting? Then how come it's my fault?
Were you texting and driving?
I can't text on the car. I wonder if the driver behind the car, he might have been sleeping. I can't tell. I can't see him. But what if he was asleep? Then all of a sudden he heard a bump, and the next thing he knows, like, oh shit, now what are we going to do? I'll blame it on the car. That's it. Everybody blames the car.
Yeah, someone's going to get dragged in the court, that's for sure.
Well, they're going to have to widen the doors if they're bringing me in. That's all I got to say.
Oh, they'll bring you in.
All right. Well, listen, guys. I'm going to go back and get my oil changed. Take it easy.
See you later.
Wow, 2 guests in a row. Stephen Hawking, autonomous car.
Yeah, I would have thought they would have invested more money and had a wider selection of robot voices, but I guess the Stephen Hawking voice was so popular, he just went with that.
Well, it was either that or...
This voice, and we all know who this is. It's really about the same voice anyhow. Or we could do this one.
We have 3. So I figured I'd go with the Stephen Hawking. Everybody's a critic.
All right.
I like the Satan voice the best.
I think I'd like the Satan voice the best myself. Well, actually, it's not Satan's voice. It's the women wrestler from Texas voice.
How do you feel about this driverless cars? I mean, that sounds like... I'm not wild about the idea at all.
To be honest with you, I feel a lot like the autonomous car because I'm thinking to myself that people get hit by cars. All right.
No. I mean, you yourself, would you prefer to drive yourself or would you prefer have the car do it for you?
Well, here's a funny thing because this kind of came up. There's a conference in Nashville, Tennessee that I was thinking of going to. And it's a 14-hour trip out. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking to myself, well, what if I left, when I drove like 4 or 5 hours and I got a little tired and I just switched on autonomous car. We're on the highway and it's doing its thing. I can sit back, maybe relax a little bit, take your shoes off. It's like
I think they call that automatic pilot.
Right. And have it do the driving. And then if we get into a city or something where I'm uncomfortable, I can take over the wheel and then go there. And it's not as much, what's the word I'm looking for?
Because this is something I really don't know about you. Do you enjoy driving? Or
love driving. Absolutely love driving. You got to be kidding me. I love to drive.
Okay.
Yes. But after a while, again, it's like when you get on 80 and you're heading to or you get on the Pennsylvania Turnpike and you're heading from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh. It's just one big, long stretch of straight road, and there's nothing really to see. And if you're doing it at night or something like that, it would be nice to be able to take a nap and let the car take over and keep on driving. Next thing you know, you wake up, you're 5 hours, you're just a couple hours away, and you take over and you drive into the city. So it would be nice to have the choice.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. There's too many variables. Like today, you're driving along, and then there's a patch of ice. Does the car recognize that? Does the car know enough?
Well, I would think. Well, see, again, there's two different types.
Like in California, that might be the perfect area because there's really no radical weather swings. But
yeah, you're right. I don't think I wouldn't call an autonomous Uber to drive me in a snowstorm.
Yeah, like through Maine or where you can get
something like that. No, I wouldn't. But on a nice spring day where, I know your Chevy has a drunk driver assist, but like say I wanted to go to Philadelphia to a bar over in Philadelphia or something like that, I would take a Uber over and then back, instead of driving and drinking and driving. I think anybody that drinks and drives now with everything that's out there, it's just kind of, in a way, I find it selfish because Ubers are relatively cheap, and there's no reason for it. There's other ways. Back in the day when we were younger, there really wasn't any taxis around here. You had to put your hand over one eye and drive with one eye, to get home. There wasn't.
Well, it depends on where you're at too, because down where I work, there's nothing out there.
Well, you say that, but there's telephone poles and trees.
No. I mean, there are no taxis.
You're right.
You're driving. It's irresponsible. I agree with you.
Right.
And you should be calling somebody else to take you home. But,
I agree with that too.
It's not like you live in the city or even in the suburbs where we live, where you can grab a taxi, or you might live on a bus route.
Hey, I'll tell you, I lost a cousin to drunk driving, and there's not
I remember that.
Not a day that goes by that I don't want to, wish he would have called. I say this to anybody that I know, that if you're out drinking, you had too much to drink, and you want to ride home, and you just call me, and I'll get up, no questions asked. My kids know that, if they ever drink one night and there's no questions, there's no retribution, there's no nothing. You have too much to drink, you make a phone call, I come out and pick you up and drive you home. That's it. Yeah. I don't want them on the road, even if they've had one drink.
Yeah, as I just said, it just seems like, in my perspective, it just seems that people that really, really like it just hate to drive. Like my father hated to drive, but I even think he would be not in favor of Uber.
It's going to take a little while to get used to.
I think it's if you're it's like an age thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 40 and up, you're not going to be wild about that idea. But it's what you grow up with, and you're comfortable, and there's just so much technology.
Right.
That all the kids today, that's what they're used to. They're steeped in it. So they're like, oh, yeah, what's the big deal?
Right. And some people don't.
But there are a lot of soulless people around, too. They just find no joy in anything. So,
well, maybe they find joy in something else but driving. Maybe driving scares them. So then this is a way for them to get out and go places and do things where they don't have to drive.
Or they could just be lazy.
Lazy. Again, I don't know. But I think that just because one thing goes wrong, I don't think it's time to just pull the plug on the whole thing. I think people want to pull the plug.
It's not that they're going to pull the plug on it. They're going to basically investigate it because they have to.
Well, if the woman stepped out, I also have another friend who was driving one day and he was going through town, wasn't going fast, and a guy in his 70s wasn't paying attention, stepped off the curb, and same thing. He didn't see him, and the guy went right through his windshield and bounced over the car, killed him.
Well, what would you suggest? I mean, we know what the reality is.
I suggest
the autonomous car hit somebody. So you, as Uber, the first thing you're going to have to do, well, that's why they have to suspend the program. They didn't say that they're going to end it. They just said they were going to suspend it. Because in reality, my take, and I didn't read this story, as I said, so I'm not steeped in what happened other than what we discussed here. But, I mean, so many people with these goddamn cell phones, they got their heads up their asses. They don't watch where they're walking.
That's true, too.
They're just, they might very well just find out, this dumb bitch, she was texting and walking and just walked right into the street.
Right. Well, it says apparently she stepped off the median onto the roadway around 10 p.m. And according to the account of the Tempe police chief, the human driver told the police that he didn't see the pedestrian coming and the autonomous system behaved as if it hadn't either.
Well, that's what he's going to say, of course. I mean, when an accident happens, I mean, you've hit animals, I've hit animals. I mean,
sure.
They jump out at you. So there's just like the 2 turkeys I took out. There was just no way I was not going to hit them because they just started flying.
Yeah, there's other times when I see dogs and cats running onto the road and there's traffic, there's traffic oncoming.
You have no choice. You're going over.
Yeah, I'm not going to pull into oncoming traffic to miss a dog or a cat that,
right.
is out in the road. You just better be faster. Get out of the way.
You feel bad, but like you said, you could go in oncoming traffic and kill somebody there.
Right.
Or
you're going to run over Fluffy.
Well, or the other alternative is that happened. I missed the dog. The dog jumped out, and it's either you're going to hit the dog or you're going to drive onto the sidewalk, and it was all people on the sidewalk. So it's like, well, sorry, Rover, but I choose you. So
I don't even want
Rover did get out of the way, and I did miss the dog. I don't know how I missed the dog.
I got to be quite honest with you. If a dog runs out, it's if I got to go up on the curb and blow a tire or knock my car out of alignment, that's tough luck on Rover. Be quite honest with you.
Yeah,
if I can get out of the way and I can brake, that's fine. But I'm not.
Yeah, you do what you can, but when you're moving that fast, and like I said, I had no choice. There was people on the sidewalk.
Yeah, exactly. So you're gonna that's it. Stuff like that happens. Squirrels, skunks, all that stuff.
Right over them. Squirrels, skunks, I'll avoid. I don't need that drama.
I hear you.
Cleaning my car. I'll sell the car. Fuck it.
I hear you.
It smells a little funny. Nonsense. It's all good.
Right. All right. What do you say we get out of here?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you said you got into one dust up on social media.
Okay. Well, so
what was that all about?
All right. So since it's March Madness and everybody's doing brackets of something, I wanted to do brackets of women, the funniest women laughs in podcasting. Now I have 4, and I wanted to try to get 16. So on Twitter, I said, hey, anybody that has, a funny laugh in podcasting? So this one guy says, yeah, try this podcast, try this podcast, try this podcast. Well, the one podcast was the woman from the Vanished podcast. And I don't know if you know who the Vanished podcast is, but the Vanished podcast is the podcast that made Whose Are These Podcasts take down the episodes.
Oh, okay.
All right. And she was also on Rob and Slim Show. And when I listened to her on the Rob and Slim Show, I was like, why is he, I don't understand where this came from. Okay. Cause Rob doesn't really have guests like that on there. Mm-hmm. He usually has comedians and actors or something like this, but she was just another.
What's her forte?
Well, her podcast is about people that go missing. And then she tells the story of the people that are missing.
Okay.
It's like a crime podcast,
All right.
I mean, I listened to the podcast. If you like crime podcast, you'll like this podcast. She's a little reedy. In other words, you can tell she's reading. Mm-hmm. Like I listen to other podcasts, crime podcasts, like the Twisted Philly podcast with Dina Marie. It doesn't sound like she's reading. It sounds like she's having a conversation with you. The Vanish podcast sounds like she's reading a little bit. But she's very dry. And again, the Vanish podcast has a ton of fans. A lot of people love that podcast. I'm not saying it's a bad podcast. Sound quality's good. I would say it's a very well-produced podcast. So I have no problem with the podcast. Who Are These Podcasts gets on there, and they ripped the podcast like he does. And apparently the one podcast I listened to was about a missing autistic woman, and somehow there was rape involved. I didn't listen to the whole podcast. I don't know how was rape involved or anything like that. I didn't find. Now I listened to the podcast that Who Are These Podcasts ripped. I listened to the episode that they ripped, and I didn't see any reason to rip it, to be quite honest with you. But who am I? Mm-hmm. So he does what he does, and we all know that I'm not the biggest fan of Carl and Who Are These Podcasts. I don't really like what they do. They're just in there trying to make fun of people and whatever. He does what he does. That's fine. So this lady from the Vanish podcast caused Carl a huge amount of angst. Carl had to take down 2 episodes because of it. Like this lady, she took Twitter trolling to a whole new, she made Carl yell uncle and pulled these episodes. Now he's saying, hey, this is just a comedy podcast and we're roasting people. And I don't agree with it. It's a roast. Yes, if she wanted to come on and roast him, Like I came on and roasted him when in the episode that we talked about, you know, who are these podcasts? He doesn't have a problem with that. But what he does have a problem with is when they come after you and try to get you fired and all that other stuff. And I don't like that either. You know, you have a problem, you bring it into the podcasting. Why do you have to get somebody fired or whatever? So anyhow, the podcasts were taken down. And in the middle of all that, I reached out to her. I reached out to the lady from the Vanish podcast, and I said, hey, would you like to come on the show? Because I kind of wanted to interview her and see what her story was and why she was doing all this and all. I really did want to have a conversation with her. And she answered me immediately and said, well, what do you want to interview me about? And I said, well, I know you're having a problem with Who Are These Podcasts? Oh, I said, you know, I would like to talk to you about what's going on with Who Are These Podcasts? And she goes, I have to talk to my lawyer because there's legal action going on. What do you want to ask me? And I go, well, there's the first question. Why is there legal action, you know, with another podcast? Why is there legal action? And I said, I have other questions about, you know, what went down, and I just want to hear your side of the story, if that's possible. She never answered me back. That was it. She just ghosted me. Never replied. That was the end of that. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's the backstory.
Okay.
So I'm asking about laughers in podcasting, and the guy says the Vanish podcast. Now remember, I just listened to her episode. Right. Very dry, very. It's just the way she delivers. She's not funny.
Did you ever hear her laugh?
Never once did I hear her laugh. Okay, but then again, she's doing a podcast about people that have disappeared.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You just told me it was a crime thing.
Right. So there's but
so
she's
how
never.
Could there be a lot of hilarity ensuing?
So that's what I said. So I said to the guy, the Vanish podcast, she doesn't have a funny bone in her body. Matter of fact, the only way she would have a funny bone in her body if a comedian banged her in the ass. And I don't even think I said that. I said a comedian had his way with her from behind. Something like that. I didn't even say banged her in the ass. I was making a joke. Mm-hmm. Well, she says, "Oh, you're disgusting."
Release the hounds.
Right. And she says, and not funny. Oh, she says, you're disgusting. And I go, yeah, but I'm funny. She goes, well, that's debatable. So I said, well, listen, I don't understand why this guy said that, number one. And he goes, then he jumps back in and says, oh, I just thought you were asking for good women podcasters. I made a mistake. I'm like, okay. I said, well, listen, let's not have any podcast on podcast crime. All right. Sorry about that. Everybody go back to your business. I'm going to go try to find some funny women that laugh, good podcast laughers. And that was the end of that. So I haven't really gotten it. That was the end of that. So Ryder Doll apparently is a big fan of this podcast. Ryder Doll from the Rob and Slim show. Mm-hmm. And she ripped into me a little bit. And I was like, well, whatever. Okay, whatever. You didn't think it was funny? That's fine. Not everybody gets every joke. What I said.
And that's why I stay off the Twitter.
I like my humor like you like your coffee, strong and dark. So that was the only real dust up I had all week on Twitter. Mm. So that's minor for me.
Did you get a lot of laughers?
No.
Did you get the 16, I mean?
No, I only have 4. And
so you could start at the final 4.
I could start at the final 4, but then I had to pull, and we had all this stuff with the snow, so I didn't get a chance to pull clips. Mm-hmm. But I can announce who the final 4 would be.
Well, why would you do that?
Okay. I'll wait till next week. So we'll still have a podcast in March. We'll do the final 4 of Podcast Laughers. So we'll have one, we'll be right at the end of March for the madness, whatever it is, right. Like the 28th.
Well, I think March Madness now goes right into April, thanks to TV.
Good gracious. I put out the other day on Facebook, I said, I can't turn on a TV channel without somebody bouncing a basketball on it. Like every channel I turned on, somebody was dribbling a basketball. It was ridiculous. Thank God for Netflix. It's
on several channels now. I mean, I never remember it used to being that way. Yeah, it's Monday. The championship is on April the 2nd.
It's not even March. It's not even March Madness.
The Final 4 is on the 31st.
Okay. So
bad planning.
Right. Well, it's crazy. And then it's so funny is everybody has these brackets, right? And they all pick these brackets. And then like the second day, like there's an upset or something and everybody's brackets are destroyed. It's almost impossible to pick. It's easier to pick a Powerball ticket than a bracket, to be quite honest with you. It's crazy because there's always some kind of upset.
Well, there's money involved.
I guess, but you have these other teams. They only have to win one game. You're one and you're done. You have a bad game or another team steps up and has a great game. They knock out a number 1 seed. First time in the history of the NCAA tournament, a number 16 seed knocked out a number 1 seed.
Right, but I think that's why there's so much interest in this, only because of the gambling aspect. I think probably March Madness even exceeds the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Gambling.
I bet
because
you're
there's
right.
so many ways for the bookies to win. Because, like you said, some team could step up their game one or have a horrible game. So
right. You know, some people had Virginia to go all the way to the finals, and they got knocked out in the first round, so their bracket's done. They've lost.
I remember when Villanova won in '85. That was huge.
They're still in it. Villanova's still in it this year.
Yeah, no, but I mean when they won the championship back in '85, that was tremendous because
they
that
won
was
again.
Just about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
ago,
they won again on a last-second shot, a last-second three-pointer, and buried it. And it was the most amazing finish to an NCAA tournament. Well, there's a couple of them, but that'll definitely be in there. So we'll see.
Patrick Ewing was played for the Hoyas.
Georgetown, yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Went on to New York after New York, right? Yeah. I like George Carlin's idea.
Where you bounce it off of somebody's head and it goes in, it's 25 points.
Well, he wanted a 2-second shot clock. He said, as soon as you get that ball, get that son of a bitch in the air. God damn it, I didn't come here to watch a game of catch. I'm an American. I want 200 points on the board.
That's true. I hear what you're saying.
And double overtimes. In fact, he would get back to the Gal Gadot thing. He does a great. I always loved Carlin. He's like one of my favorites.
Yes.
And he was talking about how language changed, and he actually referred to cripples. He says just because you change the meaning doesn't mean that they're doesn't change the word
right.
or the it doesn't change the condition.
Exactly.
You'd have to go on YouTube and look it up because I'm not going to do it any justice the way Carlin could. He was, in my opinion, he was one of the best. He was brilliant. Like his command of language was awesome.
Ricky Gervais, he's the English comic. He has a brand new stand-up special on Netflix, and he gets into the whole thing of with people getting offended and comedy and stuff like that. Because I'm still, there's podcasts that I know that might go away because they can't be funny because if somebody finds out and then they find out about their job, the next thing you know, they're in trouble.
Yeah. They come out to destroy you.
Right, they come out to destroy you. So, again, you can't be funny anymore. You got to go in a closet to be funny. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up here. Let's do some podcast shout-outs. I updated the list. Look.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Let me expand this out. Ooh, bold type.
Yeah.
But you got the first two in red, so I guess
of course, they're your two.
I see. Okay, now I see
what happens there.
I stand correct. Look at you thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you go. If you are looking for some other great independent podcast to check out, we highly recommend these podcasts and the podcasters that do them. The Evening Radio Podcast with Jason and Mindy, part of the Hush Your Face Network. And you can also hear the difference between us with Jason, Mindy, Stephanie, and David.
I Shake My Head with Lisa and Sam.
The Unwritable Rant with Juliet Miranda, who is also on with the Evening Radio Podcast with Jason and Mindy.
Yeah, I think she did a great job. You know what's funny? In the quiz.
Oh, so you're going to give away spoilers.
Oh, I did spoil it. I have to cut that out.
You big dope.
Big dummy. Yeah, it was a great show. They did a great job. Juliet was great on the show. I have no idea who won the contest. The quiz. Sorry. All right. Married as Fuck with Randall and Brooke.
The Robin Slim Show with Robin Slim and Sleepy Lucas, part of the Hush Your Face Network.
Who's Right with Doug and Anthony, part of the Hush Your Face Network. They didn't have a show this week.
Yeah.
That's the first time that I've seen them miss.
Now, are you speaking?
We are speaking.
Oh, okay.
Doug called me up the other day and said, "What the fuck? I don't go here for a week or so, and then I'm a pussy." So we hashed it out. We're friends again. I think. Who knows?
Great American bromance.
Yeah, I don't sweat it. I really don't.
Well, clearly you did because you brought it up.
Just saying, the man's not talking to me. I mean, it's not like I'm not pining away. I don't care.
Well, evidently you were dwelling on it. The Pat and Melber Show.
I don't think it's. Wait a minute. I don't think that I was doing that. We were talking. Something popped into my head. Oh, by the way, Doug's not talking.
I was doing the podcast shout.
No, this was before when we talked about it. I forget what happened. We were talking about Twitter drama, and then I said, "Oh, by the way, Doug's not talking to me," and that's how that story started.
We weren't rolling the mic.
Yes, we were. I listened to the podcast. Yes, we were.
Then we did the Who's Right.
And then when we went to do the shout-outs, I said, I don't know if I want to do the shout-outs.
Yeah, that's what,
right.
You decided to be like kind of a whiny bitch.
Right. I was a whiny bitch. It's okay. my show. If I want to be a whiny bitch, I'll be a whiny bitch. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get into your... Go ahead.
The Penn and Mellor Show with Matt Mellor and Viva La Petros, part of the Hush Your Face Network.
The Story Behind with Emily Prokop.
The Horribly Awkward Show with Sean Fuller, part of the Hush Your Face Network.
The on-again, off-again stylings of Daniel Repholz with Toe on the Trigger with Daniel, Mike, and Courtney 3000.
Everyone has a podcast with Adam and Brian.
The Bold and Belligerent with Lauren, Josh, Luke, and Adam.
The Hunan Show with Rocky, BB, Drew, and Josh.
And here's a new one on our shout-out list. The Jeff Pert Show with Jeff and Gary. And I like it. It's kind of like it's got a radio feel. It's two guys. They do a trivia contest, where they have trivia. People send in questions to be part of the. They send in trivia questions, and then Jeff and Gary face off. And it's a pretty good show. I've listened to it for about a month or so now, and I enjoy it. So it made the list. So what I'm saying is, if you like our show, it's probably a good bet that you'll like one of these shows that we just shouted out. So if you're looking for another podcast, and I'll tell you, it's kind of hard to find podcasts that you like. So if you like this podcast, I'm sure you're going to like that podcast. So check them out. If you enjoyed this show, please do us a favor. Tell a few friends. Even share this episode with your peeps on social media. It's easy to do. Stop shaking your head like that again. You fucker. I got to do this over again. We're doing the monkey dance. If you are enjoying this if you enjoyed this show, then please do us a favor. Tell a few friends. Even share this episode with your friends on social media. We would really appreciate it. It's easy to do. We are on these social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/BrandXPodcast, on the Twitter at BrandXPodcast, on Instagram at BrandXPodcast. Just like and follow us and share with your friends. We'd appreciate it. If you would also like to join in on the conversation, you can do that. You can email us at brandxpod@gmail.com, or you can call into the Times Yours voicemail at 856-322-2473. 856-322-2473. That's right. You probably won't. And you can leave a message and we'll feature you in a Times Yours segment if it ever happens. There's always a possibility. Thank you so much for listening, and come on back next week for another episode of the Brand X Podcast. Will you shut the fuck up so I can end the recording?
That's it. We're just getting into it.